Let's look at today's assignment, which is called Spooky Linear Equations. So let's look at the pages. So if you look at this, we are talking about linear equations. This is a review of something you've learned and practiced last year. So we are reviewing it, and hopefully this will help you get started with our next unit. So we have equations here. It says graph the following linear equations on the same coordinate plane. Make sure to extend the lines to the edge of the graph paper. Darken each line when finished. Color however you want. So we have, this is our graph. We need to turn it so that our y-axis is labeled at the top and our numbers are right side up. So let's look and review about linear equations. All of these are written in the same form, y equals. So let's review the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. That is the slope-intercept form. And the reason it's a slope-intercept form is because m represents the slope and b represents the y-intercept. So make sure you're writing what I'm writing on here. And this is going to help you be able to graph each one of these. We're actually going to graph two of them together. So m is your slope. And the slope determines the steepness of the graph. And the way that we graph slope is we do rise over run. It's a stair step. Rise one, run two, or whatever it is. If you rise and that is a negative, you would actually go down. And then B is your y-intercept. The y-intercept, the key word there is intercept. Basically, where does it intersect the y-axis? That is your y-intercept. Since we were talking about linear equations, the y-intercept is where the line crosses or intersects the y-axis. So let's look at our first example, and we are going to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So we look at mx plus b. So I'm going to put it m. M is the number that's right beside the x. It's called the coefficient of x. And b is the plus or minus a constant. So m is 1 over 2. And b is negative 5. Whenever we graph, we're going to graph the y-intercept first. We're going to plot a point on the y-axis where that crosses the y-axis. So let's look at our graph here. I want to plot a point at my y-intercept. This is my first thing that I do. First thing. I want to go to the y-axis. I'm going to highlight the y. That's telling us that this is my y-axis. I need to highlight my y-intercept. Put a point at that location. So I'm going to put a point at negative 5 on my y-axis. So here's my y-axis. 0, 0 is my origin. I want to go and find negative 5. You want to do this in pencil. And then after you get all your lines, then you can go over it in colors or in a marker or whatever. Okay, so negative 5. So you should have 1 point on there. In order to draw a line, you need at least 2 points. But I'm going to have you draw as many points as you can on that graph. So our slope is 1 over 2. So remember how I said it's rise over run? 1 represents rise. 2 represents run. So we're going to rise 1 and run 2. Rise means go up or down. If it's a negative number, we're going to go down. If it's positive, we're going to go up. And run as long as you're following the rise over run of our original slope, you're always going to run right. So let's do 1, 2. So we put our pencil on our y-intersect, which is -5. We're going to rise 1, run 2. So I'm going to count up 1. So do it with me. Put your pen on -5. Count up 1, over or run 2. And we're going to extend this line across the whole graph. So we're going to keep on doing that same stair step. Rise 1, run 2. Rise 1, run 2. Rise 1, run 2. See how they're all in a straight line? That's how they should be because we're talking about lines, linear equations. We want to extend this across the whole graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my y-intercept. I'm going to do the opposite of rising 1, running 2. So what is the opposite of rising? Falling 1. What's the opposite of running right? Running left. See how whenever I do that, it falls straight in line, like a soldier falls in line? That's what you want your points to do, fall in line. So we're going to keep on doing that. Go down 1, right 2. Go down 1, right 2. And so we have points that are all in a line. So now we're going to use our ruler. And we are going to make our line. What you want to do is use a ruler on all of these. Do not just try to eyeball it. Use a ruler. Make it straight. Yes. After you're done with all the lines, then you can go over it with a marker. Okay. Whenever you draw this line, make sure that you put it just above the dots. Right above it. So that way, whenever I put my pen on the first dot, I can hold my ruler down really, really tight and then just drag my pencil along the ruler. If you let this slip, it'll make your line not one. Please don't play with the rulers because they break easy. Okay, let's look. So that's our first one. Let's look at our second one. Y equals -x plus 6. What is our slope? -1. It's the number beside the x. So -1. What is our b value? 7. So what do we graph first? 7. 7 is our y-intercept. So go to the y-axis and plot the point 7. Then we're going to count rise over run, but I only have one number. So how can I rewrite -1 so it has a fraction?
Oh, you put it over 1.
Put it over 1. -1 over 1. So I'm going to rise -1 and run 1. So rise -1 actually means I'm going to go down 1 and then run 1. Go right. If I go down 1 and left, that makes a positive line. It's going uphill. I have to follow down 1, right 1. 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 Keep on following that same pattern. And what do you notice about your lines? They intersect. That's right. So let's connect the dots to make this line. Remember, you're extending it all the way through. What does it look like?
It looks like spiderweb.
Yeah, it looks like a spider web. Okay, let's look at number 7. 7 says y equals -1 over 8x. What is our slope? Yeah, negative 1 over 8. So that means I'm going to rise negative 1 and run 8.
Oh,
But where am I starting? What's my y-intercept? The origin, yeah, because there's no plus b. So it's actually plus 0 is our b.
oh, you're looking at 7.
Yeah, I'm looking at 7.
Oh.
So your origin is 0, 0, which is our y-intercept here. So plot a point at 0, 0 at the origin. And then we're going to do rise over run. So if I'm rising 1, what does that actually mean?
You're going upward.
Going what?
Down.
Down 1. And then how many am I going right? 8. So it's over here. It's going to intersect 2. It's a big jump. But I need another point. So
You go up and left.
up and left. Yep. Rise 1, left 8. See how those fall in line?
That's weird. I never did one that
The
way.
magic behind that.
All right, so your assignment is to finish this and also answer questions 9, 10, and 11. On number 11, it says explain how to graph a linear equation. You can use an example. Act like you're explaining it to a friend. How do you graph a linear equation? This is due the next time I see y'all.
What's your